you go. You're on.
What do you want to do?
Well, what do you want to talk about? Just talk about what you want to talk about.
Well, what I've done over the last couple of weeks, I've written to State Administrative Tribunal and exposed Patrick de Villiers, who has committed perjury, according to the police, in the courts. He now works for the State Administrative Tribunal. So I alerted the President and the Vice President of the State Administrative Tribunal, alerted them that this person is working for them, and I don't want him to cause any more injuries to other people. Yeah, so
Did you get a response from them?
And I got no response whatsoever.
Well,
that was written, I think it was the 1st of April.
Of 2013?
Yeah.
Well, you won't get a response from them because John Cheney, the president of the SAT, is corrupt as well.
Mr. Cheney's one of them, and there was another one. I can't remember the other one.
Destroyed all my family's rights in the SAT. So all those judges are just covering up for each other. There's no accountability. There's no proper review of their performance.
I've also written
judicial review.
I've also written to the Attorney General.
Judicial review.
I've also written to the Attorney General and written that I'm a victim of a 25 years manifestly serious miscarriage of justice, and I requested a full and open, independent judicial inquiry and compensation. And I enclosed a lot of other documents with it, the history of the case, and he wrote back to me.
Well, did you want to read the whole letter out?
I hope you will seriously consider my request. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King Jr. Looking forward to your response. Jan to Horst, 1st of April 2013.
You've also attached documents there. You've got
yes.
Documents enclosed. Do you want me to read it out? I'll read it out.
Yeah, I mentioned it before.
Okay, it's sent to Michael Mission, the Liberal politician, Attorney General, Western Australia, and everybody knows what he's done to me in the Supreme Court, using tax money to destroy my civil political rights. Dear Sir, I'm a victim of a 25-year-old manifestly serious miscarriage of justice. I request a full and open independent judicial inquiry. I'm also seeking compensation. See documents enclosed, all of which became available after I lost all my various court cases in the District and Supreme Courts, which proves that the judges are not giving justice to victims of...
Vindicated 4 times after I lost all the court cases. So therefore I should get compensation, or there should be another inquiry.
Well, you've got 5 government reports that... 4 government reports, plus, well, an enormous amount of other documents that you have, proving that you really have done nothing wrong.
Exactly.
You've done nothing wrong.
Anyway,
and he was thrown in jail for...
That's the response of the Attorney General.
For fighting for his property rights. So you definitely need compensation, and you need a public apology as well. I hope you will seriously consider my request. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King Jr. said that. Keenly looking forward to your response. 1st of April 2013.
That's the response.
And then Michael Mission wrote back on the 3rd of May 2013. Dear Mr. Horst, request for judicial inquiry. Thank you for your letter dated the 4th of April 2013. It was dated the 1st of April.
You'd have received it, I suppose, at the 4th.
Well, no, letter dated 4th of April.
Right.
You've got 1st of April on your letter. Yeah. Regarding your request to open an independent judicial inquiry and your request for compensation, I have reviewed the attached documents to your letter. While I appreciate your deeply held convictions on this matter, I am not persuaded that an inquiry of the kind you request can be justified. I also do not believe there is any basis on which compensation could be considered. Thank you for bringing your matter to my attention. Yours sincerely, Michael Mission, Attorney General, Western Australia, and Minister for Commerce. So no basis, he doesn't believe there's any basis on which compensation could be considered, even though there's 4 government reports, including a parliamentary inquiry, proving that you haven't done anything wrong.
I've got a list of about 50 people that all are of the same opinion that I should be getting compensation.
That's right.
And they all say that there has been a miscarriage of justice, including David Malcolm, who was on my case in the Supreme Court and is now Professor of Law at Notre Dame.
That's right.
Yeah, Ross Lightfoot, another one, miscarriage of justice.
There is lots of people. We read through the list, didn't we?
And there are many other people. Yeah, I've got a whole list of them.
Yeah. Plus all the reports he's got,
Yeah,
including the parliamentary inquiry. But what I want to say is that, you know, Michael Mission is using tax money to destroy people's rights in the courts. He's using his position and tax money to destroy his rights. They're all corrupt, those politicians, and most of the judges as well, and they just cover for each other.
Exactly. It's all cover up.
And they're throwing people in jail. I mean, the head of the Supreme Court, Wayne Martin, given a Liberal Party injunction for political silence, he's the one that said, you gave me this article. Yeah. October the 25th, Thursday, 2012. WA's top judge has likened Australia's legal system to a Rolls Royce, arguing it is accessible only to big business, the very wealthy, and a small group entitled to aid, and was out of the reach of ordinary Australians. In a speech yesterday, Supreme Court Chief Justice Wayne Martin said Australians could take pride in the country's legal system. Well, that's not true. If it's not accessible, if it's not accessible to 99% of the population, then it's not.
A joke.
Then it's not working, is it?
It's a joke.
But many lack the financial and other resources needed to access the justice system. You've got the filing fees. That's the problem. Then all the paperwork is. They make it so hard. They make it as hard as possible for you. That's the judges and the staff. Yeah. And then they treat you like garbage if you don't have a lawyer.
That's right.
And then they lie, they're dishonest,
yeah.
They manipulate the legislation to suit their own purposes, and they manipulate cases as well, court cases, to suit their own purposes.
Well,
they're working for the government lawyers and the government and the corporate lawyers, and that's it. And that's evidence as well.
I've experienced everything you just said. I've experienced it all over the past 25 years. And you know, people say to me, get a gun and shoot the bastards, you know, but...
firing squad.
I'm not that kind of person, you know.
No, because you fight for freedom like me, freedom fighters, aren't we?
I always thought that there was justice in this country, but there is no justice. Anyway,
this is not a justice system, this is a Satan system. It's not working at all, and the people running it is to do with power and access to only certain people, rich people, etc. So it's not a judicial system, it is really a very corrupt system that is not working, not accessible to people. So says the head of the Supreme Court in WA as well. Here's another article which you've got. What's this one? Sunday Times, 26th of May 2013. What's that one about? WA lawyers are being more free legal help. WA lawyers are being called on to do more pro bono or free work. Solicitor David Genoway says volunteering his legal skills to help others goes hand in hand with being a lawyer and is a professional obligation. Wow, that's a great comment. His view is supported by the Law Society of WA, which believes pro bono work helps retain the community's respect for the justice system. Mr. Genoway, who works for international law firm Herbert Smith Freehills, recently won the Attorney General's Community Service Law Award for helping to change laws that discriminated against deceased Aboriginal people.
Yeah, what about white people?
Well, the problem here is it's not the more free legal help. Okay, that's the article. The problem is not the lawyers. The problem is the judges and the judicial system and the accessibility, the filing fees, the paperwork they make very difficult, all those issues that we talked about. It's not even about the legislation, because I use the legislation in cases, and then they just manipulate the legislation and the rules or cases to
suit their own.
To suit their own particular judgment. So the problem is the actual functioning of the court, and it's that's the problem. And the fact that
my incompetent
pro bono work is
my incompetent, negligent barrister is now a judge. So there you are.
Yeah.
And the system rolls on.
Well, they cover. The judges just cover for each other. The politicians just cover for each other.
Police, they're all the same.
Doesn't matter what party they're with. Well, I think the police are being used inappropriately. I don't think it's the police's fault necessarily. I think they're being used inappropriately by the politicians and by the judges and magistrates. And, you know, I've been teaching 17 years. They scrutinise teachers. They make it impossible for you to do your work effectively, but there's no accountability for judges and magistrates, and there's no accountability for politicians. So they put themselves up here, and they put everybody else down here, and they're destroying the teachers, right? So that's problematic. They're destroying the education system. So there needs to be huge judicial reform and political reform for Australians.
Anyway, what I'm looking for is a pro bono lawyer. I do have a case, a compensation case. It's in the multi-millions. All I need is a pro bono lawyer who is prepared to take on my case, and he will be paid after I receive my compensation.
So when you get your damages, you get the lawyer get paid.
I have a clear case for compensation.
Yeah.
It's just what is missing is a pro bono lawyer. Now, but they're always writing about pro bono lawyers. I cannot find one. Yeah, I can't get one.
Well,
If I was an Aboriginal, perhaps I might get one.
Because for your case, all the hard work's already been done.
That's right.
The government reports proving that you're innocent, done nothing wrong, and that you've been treated badly by the court and by
the reports
by
are
the
not
council.
The reports are not acted upon.
Yeah.
The police report was never acted upon by the DPP because he himself was part of the corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the fake titles and the fake transfers. Robert Koch.
Yeah. Well, we did a whole lot of broadcasts for you, 6 broadcasts on West Oz Party site. And the fact that Michael Mission couldn't give a shit, really, could he? Despite the fact there are all these government reports proving that Mr. Horst needs compensation and a public apology, well, Michael Mission is just as guilty and corrupt as all the others. Because if you know anything about Mr. Horst's case, and then you can write a letter and say, I also do not believe there is any basis on which compensation could be considered. Well, it totally proves that this man is not competent, plus he's got no morals, and he would cover up criminal behaviour, government criminal behaviour against innocent citizens, innocent victims, that he would deliberately cover it up. So how the hell can a person like this be a politician? How? And the voters of Western Australia and Australia, when you vote, I'm asking you to vote for other political candidates and put Liberal and Labor last and second last, because unless we get rid of these corrupt politicians, it won't change.
That's right.
And so how can, in writing, black and white, blatantly, knowing that Mr. Horst's case is very public, because you've had a lot of media coverage over the years, there's also those government reports, at least 4, plus all the other documents you've got. You've got an enormous amount of document evidence proving that when the Parliament had an inquiry, when they had that inquiry into you, what was that called?
Local government inquiry.
The Lush inquiry.
And then there was the Standing Committee on Public Administration and Parliament, where we gave evidence. And then there was the police report, and then there was the Ombudsman's report.
And they're all in favour of you?
They're all vindicate me.
Yeah, so, well, you haven't done anything wrong, you've been treated very badly. So 4 government reports, including parliamentary investigations and reports, and he thinks he has the right to say, no, nothing's been done wrong, no compensation. Michael Mission is a criminal. He's just a criminal. He's using tax money in the courts to destroy people's civil, political and religious rights. He did it to me and he did it to the Cornelius brothers.
You've got the wrongful jailing as well. Yeah, and I was thrown in jail for indefinite periods.
Yeah, well, you served how many days?
Well, I served as many days because they needed time to create fake titles and fake transfers. So once they got the fake titles and the fake transfers, then they released me after 91 days. So it took them 3 months.
91 days.
It took them 3 months to prepare all the documents, the fake documents and the fraud documents. The documents state, I consent. If I consent...
But he was in jail. You were in jail.
Yeah, I was in jail. And if I consent to something, it should have my signature on it.
That's right.
Yeah?
And we've got the documents. We already showed the public, didn't we?
So the documents are the titles, the titles are frauds and the transfers are frauds.
Yeah. Well, I believe politically you should just be given damages and you should be given public apology, because I've seen the government reports, I've seen the documents.
Justice I'll never get in WA. At least they can do is give me compensation and an apology. But even that is too much.
Wrongful imprisonment, 91 days. Well, maybe Michael Mission needs to go to prison. People like Colin Barnett. Because I'll tell you what they're doing. I'll tell you what they're doing in Western Australia. Huge human rights abuses. They can use their position and your tax money to destroy Australian citizens' fundamental rights and freedoms. And at the same time, what they're doing is, or this article here, Friday the 14th of June 2013, thousands jailed to pay fines. So, this is Colin Barnett, Michael Mission, the Liberal politicians and the Labor politicians, because they've been doing exactly the same thing, and they will do the same thing. So they have been government-imposed economic fees and fines on Australians and then throwing them in jail. More than 1 in 7 admissions to WA's overstretched jails in the past 4.5 years has been a person sent behind bars solely to pay off fines, costing taxpayers millions of dollars in lost revenue and in prison accommodation. The opposition has said the 5,017 cases of people jailed between November 2008 and May this year for the exclusive reason of paying off fines was inconceivable when jails were overcrowded and record funding of $655 million had been pledged to increasing prison beds. So Colin Barnett won't spend money on education and the other politicians, but they'll spend $655 million creating more prison beds. So that's jailing people. And first of all, they have no respect for human life, because if you jail people for economic reasons, you're obviously saying that money is more important than people and human life and the dignity of human life. They have no respect for human life. It is a total waste of tax money, because the cost of... Well, first of all, they'll never get that money off those people because they won't pay or can't pay. You know, it's just the poor people they're throwing in jail. So that's a total waste. Then secondly, the cost to the taxpayer of incarcerating people is about $100,000 a year. So there's the cost to the taxpayer. And then thirdly, they destroy those people's lives, because when you throw people in jail like that, it's very hard for them to...
Might finish up with a criminal record or whatever.
Well, it's very hard for them to get a job, it's very hard for them to get a house. They destroy their lives. So the three things the politicians there are horrific, totally wrong, absolutely immoral, and have got no morality and no regard for human life. It proves they only care about money. They will destroy your life for the sake of money. They will destroy people's lives for the sake of money.
The courts are not a justice system. It's just a business. It's run as a business, getting money out of people.
Well, blood and money, because I can tell you half these people will commit suicide. So they've got all these deaths on their hands. All right, what do you want to talk about this?
I wanted to talk about lawyers.
Can we hold it?
You're on now?
Yep.
Yes, during the last 25 years I had about 16 lawyers, and they all let me down. They were all only interested in my money. In the end it cost me $300,000 and I got nothing but misery to show for it, including thrown in jail like a criminal. My last lawyer was John Hammond. Now this is to do with signage. In desperation I've been exposing all the corruption on my wall and on my building and on my car, including the coffin on the car. The council decided they were going to prosecute me. They reckoned the signs on my property were illegal. But the council heritage listed my house, my building. And on the heritage documents it states the political signage are of significance to the heritage of the building. Now that should have been the end of the story. But no, the council decided to drag me in and out of court 25, 30 times, and in the end I got fined, I got fined on several occasions, $200, $600.
That's where your rate money's going, tax money.
Yeah, the last one I got fined $400 with John Hammond, and the legal costs from the Fremantle Council lawyer was $4,500, so altogether $4,900. And I told them, I said, I will not pay 1 cent. You can put me in jail, you can do whatever you like, but I will not pay a cent, because these signs, the posters and signage are registered on my heritage documents. You heritage listed my building. So why should I have to pay for it? Anyway, I refused to pay. One councillor then came to my assistance, Howard from Fremantle, Les Lauder, and he was a councillor, and he told the council that they were wasting their time, and Mr. Horst should have never been taken to court for the signage because they were heritage listed. So then the council waived all the fees. I did not pay 1 cent. Now that was $5,000 of ratepayers' money down the drain.
Yeah, that's the council's fault.
Right, $5,000.
Government.
But my lawyer sent me a bill, not for 5,000, for 14,000. John Hammond, who was always on 6BR radio, looking for business. And he also overcharged me 4,500, whilst he was not registered as a legal firm, because the firm changed names. They changed name from one company to another, and then they failed to register the second company. But whilst that company was not registered, they were charging everybody thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, all the clients. So I demanded that money back, and he said no. He said, you still owe me money. And it went on. I went to the legal profession complaints committee, and they...
you wrote a letter to them?
I wrote to them, and I asked them to sort out this mess, and I said, my complaint is that John Hammond...
This is the letter here.
Yeah, that he overcharged me 4,500, and he is, as far as I'm concerned, he's guilty of unprofessional conduct. Also, not only the overcharging, but he sent an apprentice over to the Fremantle courts, and whilst he was required himself, John Hammond was required, the trial was on, he sent an apprentice over who was here from Queensland on a serving holiday, and he looked to me, he was on drugs, he didn't know what he was doing, he didn't have any paperwork. I was all prepared for the trial date was on, and he came with no paperwork, and he kept staring into the sky looking for help, and he then asked the magistrate to get it adjourned again.
But he asked you...
And it was all done at my expense.
Yeah.
But before that, he said to me, this junior lawyer, his name was Mr. Ryan, and he said, can you help? Can you do it yourself?
So he said to you...
Can you defend your case yourself in court, because I've got no paperwork? And I said, no, I employed you people I employed John Hammond
That's John Hammond's lawyer.
to act on my behalf. Yeah? And instead John Hammond sent you over here.
So you're paying them for them to tell you
That's
to
right. So
do it yourself.
Yes.
Because they don't have the paperwork. But
That's right. So
given the paperwork over there is enormous.
So as far as I'm concerned,
evidence.
that's unprofessional conduct.
It's pretty
Now,
bad.
he also, I asked him to call John Treloar. John Treloar is a retired town planner from Melville. He knows the laws inside out. He was all prepared to give evidence, and he had a subpoena. He was subpoenaed to come to court, and when he got to court, he was told by John Hammond, "No, you're not required." But he had all the evidence.
Yeah.
He could have won my case. And I lost the case.
Well, they had all the evidence. They charged you money, and then you tried to get it back. So
and
you wrote to
the legal professional
complaints
committee,
June 2013.
the legal professions complaint committee are now protecting Mr. John Hammond and saying now there was no unprofessional conduct. Well, you don't have to be very smart to work out that there was. There was a very serious unprofessional misconduct and overcharging.
And
so,
they also weren't in the hearing. Sometimes they weren't in the hearing when you were in the hearing. When you were in the hearing, sometimes they weren't in there, the court, the lawyers. Sometimes you were paying them, but sometimes they were not in the hearing. Is that right?
yes, it happened on one or two occasions. But
well, the day that you were sent to jail, there was no lawyer there for you, even though you handed over $300,000.
That's right.
For legal representation.
Now, the legal profession in WA has let me down, and one of my incompetent, negligent barristers is now a judge, Michael O'Sullivan. You know, he was so confident of my case. Don't worry about it, don't worry about a thing, Mr. Horst. Just make sure the $10,000 is there on Monday morning, or I'll drop your case. They're very arrogant and corrupt, incompetent people.
They just want money.
The system is so corrupt.
Well, it's not the system; it's the people.
Yes.
These are all identifiable.
Well, the people that are running the system. Yeah.
The people that are in these positions. They're all identifiable.
Anyway, wherever I go, wherever I complain, they put up the Berlin Wall. Nobody wants to know it. Everybody wants to cover it up. And I have been exposing this for 25 years, and I will continue to do so until I die. But I'll guarantee you, the media will go berserk after I die, and they will expose all this business. That rubbish should all be exposed while I am alive. Not after I'm dead.
Well, I want compensation for you while you're alive, and a full-on public apology as well. So I'll still keep standing with you and fight with you to get that. And I know we talked about going to the Supreme Court, filing a writ, but I found the Supreme Court judges are very corrupt here. How much my judge lied in the judgment transcript with my case, and you know, the head of the Supreme Court giving political signage injunctions to the Liberal Party candidates and politicians.
All wrong. Yeah.
It's totally corrupt. They're just working for Liberal politicians and probably the Labor politicians as well, and just for the rich people.
If this
guy said it himself. Wayne Martin has said it himself.
If those signs
to the public.
If those signs are good enough for the Liberal Party, good enough for the Goers, that should be good enough for the Gander, and that should be independents like yourself. You know, it should also apply to you.
Well, that's right. I got prosecuted, independent candidate,
yeah.
But the Liberal Party politicians and candidates can get political signage injunctions from the Supreme. How obvious is it? You know, it's just so blatantly obvious that there is a massive problem with our judiciary and the politicians. That we need to fight for our rights. I believe the people need to start fighting. We need to stop paying taxation, I believe. I think a lot of people should stop paying taxation until it changes, until it stops, until we get new politicians, until we get judicial reform where people can have access to courts for free, and simplify the paperwork, fair hearings where there's panels of lawyers conducting hearings, more mediation, and I also want to see the development of a single criminal court, so the district court used as a criminal court, so that there's specialised lawyers involved in criminal cases for real crime, like murderers and rapists and pedophiles, you know, real criminals, and people involved political and judicial crime, like corruption, and also economic corruption, major economic corruption, corporate corruption. So, so that the district court could just be doing all criminal cases and civil cases. The other courts be used for civil litigation for free, so people can go in there and get a hearing. And the magistrates' court is just totally not working. The magistrates' court is almost exclusively being used by the government to destroy the poor people's lives. That's what the magistrates' courts are being used for. The magistrates' courts are being used by the government to destroy fundamental rights and freedoms of Australians, jail all the poor people.
Yeah, and protecting corrupt local governments.
And also police using magistrates' court. Well, they're trying to take possession of my car at the moment because of a property I own in New South Wales, where I won't pay rates, and an order was made by a registrar in New South Wales. There wasn't even a hearing. No hearing. That's Nazism. Nazi orders, you know. Nazism.
They were the Jews. They confiscated everything. All
yeah, steal all your property, and
then they
there's
changed
no hearing.
the names and they changed everything.
Totally abrogating principles of common law, procedural fairness, natural justice, principles of legality that I wrote about at length in one of my submissions in the Supreme Court, which the judge totally ignored. How can an order be made without a hearing to possess somebody's car? I think that's like Nazism. It's a Nazi order, and when the person came around, the sheriff, I ended up ripping up his paperwork, and I told him, I said, if you come around again, he reckons he's going to come around my house with police and a tow truck. See, I'm getting threatened by the government. I'm just getting totally threatened, and the politicians and the judges, and they're going to try and jail me, I think, if they can get away with it, for political and economic reasons. Why? Because I say no to them. Because I don't want to put up with their Nazi orders. You know, because I don't want to be treated like a slave. Because I have respect for myself. Because I don't agree with the local government system in Australia, which is like Nazism and communism, and I've already outlined an alternative vision. I don't agree politically. I have a political and economic objection to the local government acts throughout Australia, because they're like communists.
It is
Look what they've done to you. It's absolutely disgusting.
This is from the Legal Professional Complaint Committee. Right, this is the last page here. For the reason this is his decision.
Yeah.
Conclusion.
Is
lacking some substance, and it's unreasonable. So you can't complain about anybody because they're using the same tactics. Insufficient evidence. It's unreasonable. It's lacking substance, and this comes from Mr. Roberts.
It's a woman, G. Roberts, delegate of the Legal Profession Complaints.
Yeah, it looks like they're all women because there's another woman in there as well.
There's hardly any women in these positions.
Yeah, there's another woman on there I've been dealing with.
Well, how can it be lacking in substance when he's handed over thousands of dollars and Hammond has another lawyer in there, and the lawyer is saying to him, I don't have any paperwork in the hearing, and asking Mr. Horst to conduct his own case after he's given him money.
Then he overcharges me and reckons I still owe him money, and he then sent me a cheque for $3,000.
For to resolve the issue.
Yeah, and it's all lacking in it's all lacking in substance. I mean, what a joke.
So lacking.
I'll show you the cheque.
Tell you what, some of these people will be.
The legal profession.
Some of these people will be toasting wines when you pass away. You know, a bunch of fucking wankers, aren't they? I tell you what, if they throw me in jail, I bet they'll be having a party.
Yeah, here's the cheque.
Come and sit down.
No, he kept saying, I still owe him money.
A refund. Mr. Hammond gave you $3,000 back.
No unprofessional conduct, no overcharging. I still owe him money. He then sent me a cheque of $3,000. John Hammond.
So you got some.
Really?
You got some reconciliation about it.
Yes, but I still got no satisfaction with the unprofessional conduct. They covered it up.
Did he apologise or anything?
No
like
way, no way, no way. Lawyers never apologise.
Judges
please,
don't know
please.
the fact that those judges transferred your titles while you were in
Yeah.
jail, they threw you in jail.
The cheque, $3,000.
Please find attached a copy of my letter dated 15th of April 2013 to Mr. Horst, enclosing Hammond's legal cheque in the sum of $3,000. That's got capital T to Horst.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Oh,
It's a small T. It's a small T. It's like Van. You know Van?
Yeah, yeah. More or
Like
less
your
my
name.
name. So I should know
See,
that.
that's another one, Bowler. See, she's another miss. They're all women running the office, and like I said, they're all covering. I've got nothing against it, but they're all covering up for the
Well,
crooks.
regardless of gender, if you cover up for corruption,
They're all covering up.
that's why we speak about it so much, isn't it? Because if you're willing to speak about what's wrong, corruption, then there'll be less of it. And it's very difficult, but it's the right thing to do. So I don't want to be corrupt. So that's why I talk about public corruption or corruption.
Well, I can see. I can look everybody straight in their eyes, in their face. I've got nothing to be ashamed of. I'm a whistleblower, and I will continue to blow the whistle for anything that I think is corrupt and illegal.
You should be working for the Triple C.
The Triple C is corrupt. I've got no time for the corrupt.
Well, they're killing my brother. The
Commission.
government is killing my brother, and the Triple C is not doing much about it. I wrote to them a few times. I got an email from the guy, but I've got to.
I read it all out. Remember the 2 pages from the Corruption and Crime Commission?
Yeah.
And they said,
Covering
Mr. Horst, that there was Mr. Hudson. He was one of the investigators of the Corruption and Crime Commission. And he said to me, Mr. Horst, we now got support for your case from unexpected quarters. He wouldn't say who it was, but I got a feeling it was Dowler, from unexpected quarters. And then they dumped the case. They said, no, we haven't got any experts. We haven't got people to deal with your case. And that statement you made about Mr. Hudson is entirely wrong, because he never made that statement. You know what I mean?
Well, all the people working
So that's
for
how
the government.
corrupt.
If the people working for the government actually worked with people like us to expose the political corruption, this person is really corrupt. He's using tax money to destroy people's rights in the court. Innocent people who are just speaking about political issues, and has the audacity, the temerity, the so arrogant that he could say to someone like Mr. Horst, no compensation for you, no basis for you, you know, knowing what reports did you send him? You sent him copies of the reports and they know.
Everything.
They all know.
I said everything.
Of course they know. Because they think they're just going to get away with it. They should be jailed. And if all the people working for the government actually work with us to have these politicians jailed and the judges for their corruption, all the death in our society, you know, throwing over 5,000 West Australians in prison for government-imposed economic fees and fines is horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And all they do is give themselves pay rises, more perks. I tell you what, I'll slash the salaries of politicians and I'll get rid of the perks as well. And when you're a politician and you leave office, that's it. No perks for you once you leave office. Not the economic rotting is horrific. And they will sit up there, they will throw the homeless people in jail, they'll throw the homeless people in psych facilities, they'll let people commit suicide, they create no jobs for people. They can't even manage the economy properly, it's so bad.
This
makes me sick.
Have now washed their hands.
Throw up.
They've now washed their hands on the unprofessional conduct, and they want me to go to the to the State Administrative Tribunal. And there,
John Cheney,
I will have
he's
to
a criminal
file.
as well.
Yeah, and I've got 28 days to take my complaint to them. They will no longer deal with it. It is their job to deal with it. Yeah?
It's their job to deal with
Because
it.
I know,
And
but
the
all
SAT's not going to do anything because John Cheney's a criminal. He's killing people. Letting
And of course they
people,
want money of you
killing
as
people.
well.
Yeah.
You know, for filing fees, and God knows if fees may also be applicable. Rules 9 and 10. Now I wonder if that is whether that applies to pensioners, because I don't pay filing fees in the courts.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't either. Nobody should. It should be free. If you pay people to work in a court, why do you have to charge filing fees? It's not necessary. It should be free, and there should be a lot more mediation going on.
Well,
And panels of lawyers simplify the paperwork.
They should charge the criminals if they're found guilty or whatever. You know?
Well, I think there should be one criminal court.
Not the
District court should be converted to a criminal court. But all other courts should be civil litigation. A lot more civil litigation should be going on. It should be free. And if the government employed lawyers at a low cost,
I'm going to contact them
and stop and get rid of judges and magistrates because they're getting paid too much. They're allowing too much violence, and you know they're letting people get away with murder. They are letting people murder people.
Well, there's no police stations. The latest one is Armadale. They want a police station. They haven't got one. They've got so much crime there.
Yeah, but the problem is they can't just keep throwing those people in jail. They have to create jobs. They have to create jobs for people. If people are working, then they're not going to engage in crime. And that's the problem. The politicians are very lazy. They don't create work for people, jobs. It's up to the politicians to find jobs for people and stop throwing them in jail. And they'll let people, you know, murderers, the amount of murder and violence going on is increasing, particularly against women. And the judges will let people get away with murder, but they're throwing people in jail for government-imposed economic fees and fines. Can you see how unjust that is? How screwed up is that morally? How screwed up is that?
All those people should be passed. They should be gone to the council, and they should all be put on council jobs. Fix the footpaths, fix the parks, do community work. Not putting them in jail. Yeah, they should all do community work.
Why don't the politicians create jobs for people? Then they won't be in that position in the first place. And why don't they use government funds, tax money? It's not their money, it's tax money. Hunting down killers and stopping murder. If they just focused on using tax money to stop real crime like murder, rape, pedophilia, corporate crime, drugs, okay, then they don't have to throw people in jail for economic reasons. It is a total waste of tax money. It is. You got more people, like you said, more criminals living in society than in jail.
Outside of jail. Yeah.
Well, you've got more murder and violence going on in the community, but they're spending millions of dollars prosecuting people for economic fees and fines, government-imposed economic fees and fines. The poor people. The rich people jailing the poor people. That's what it comes down to.
That's right.
Do you reckon?
That's right.
And it's up to the rich people, or the people, political people, and the rich people to create jobs for Australians.
Let's have a coffee.
Have a coffee.
I've got a job for a good lawyer. Pro bono lawyer.
Okay, cool.
I've got a job for you.